So if you see this page, then you obviously know that I've joined Casual Bias Rugby's rugby community. And it's a massive honor for me because obviously I like making rugby content. And today's topic for me is I'm going to go steer off a bit from the Six Nations and I'm going to steer away from the Super Rugby. Because of Ireland traveling to South Africa, I think it's important for me to just reiterate how good the Springboks are when they play against Ireland, because on every other social media platform, whenever somebody makes a post about the Springboks, the Irish just have to remind them that the last 3 games that they played, or like they'd like to say, the last 8 years, Ireland has been the Springboks' daddies. So this is just a reminder that to the Irish fans that if you think of the Springboks, you have to think world champions. If you think of the Irish, you think of bottle jobs. And obviously, when we see the Irish coming to South Africa later this year, then we'll obviously know once and for all who is the better team. Because the last 3 times we played against each other, Springboks and Ireland, was all in Europe. And the last time Ireland was in South Africa, they obviously got hammered. And Ireland's only beaten the Springboks on 1 occasion in South Africa. So I think of all the games that could have been played against each other, it's fair to say that yes, in the last 3 games, Ireland's been better than South Africa. But then again, it comes down to, it's without looking for excuses or anything, it comes down to it that South Africa, it's the end of their season compared to Ireland's start of their season. So it's very old, rugged, sore bodies versus fresh bodies. And now it's going to be in the middle of the season for both teams where we'll actually be able to see strength versus strength. So South Africa being ranked number 1 in the world, going up against Ireland being ranked number 2 in the world and number 2 in Europe. Just joking. It's going to be a proper comparison. But then when I look back at all the series played between the 2 teams, South Africa and Ireland have played in 4 series, and South Africa has won all 4 of those series. But now this one, it's quite a tricky one, because when they come to South Africa, there's only 2 matches being played, which I think is completely absurd, because having a drawn series is just gonna make the rivalry between fans so much bigger, because I can't see an Irish team letting it go if they have to win one of the 2 games in South Africa. It's not going to be at Loftus. I can't see Ireland coming to a sold-out Loftus and putting up a massive fight at altitude with a full-strength box side, with a Pretoria crowd going absolutely berserk. I just cannot see it happening. But also, one thing I want to raise that gets me, that annoys me a little bit, is the fact that the Irish think that because they beat the Springboks in a pool stage in the World Cup, they should be the best side in the world. Because it's not just the fans that are saying it. I mean, the players are saying it as well. They're like, we don't feel like we were the worst side in the world. We're obviously the best side in the world because we beat the overall champions. But then doesn't that make South Africa the best? Obviously, because they beat the team that kicked from Ireland out of the World Cup. So I need that to be made better sense to me, because it's quite confusing. So I do, however, think that, yes, the Irish deserve to be second in the world, but they definitely need to have some respect when it comes to the Springbok side. It's very far from, how can I say this? It's very, the gap between South Africa and Ireland is further than people think. I think that if Ireland made it past the quarterfinals, they probably would have lost in the semifinals, but they never would have won that World Cup at all. They felt like they diffused the bomb squad, but I don't think South Africa, that was their tactic when they played them in the pool stage. So I'm quite confused as to why the fans just don't see it the way everybody else sees it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the delusional one, but there's no chance that Ireland would have beaten South Africa in that World Cup final, because the plan was to play them in the World Cup final anyway. But then obviously New Zealand had other ideas. So I don't know how you can call yourself the greatest team currently. You lose to England. You barely beat Scotland to win the Six Nations. So I don't know. Ireland have been extremely lucky to play against the teams that they've played against this year in the Six Nations, because everyone's been poor, including Ireland. So, yeah, it's going to be... Oh, and actually my reason for saying that South Africa is the best team in the world, it's because of how they won all their games, especially in the World Cup. When you look at how South Africa beat France in France, yes, it was by 1 point, but a win is a win. To grind it out like that, and then to come up against a very surprising English side, to go up again and beat them by 1 point, that was a proper nail biter. But then in the final, there was no point that I thought, okay, South Africa's going to lose to the All Blacks. It was more calmness against the All Blacks than there was against any other side, because South Africa just wins finals. That's just how it is. They don't make it to the final and lose. And South Africa is going to be treating this series against Ireland the exact same way. They're going to be treating these two games as a final, just to shut the critics up that are saying Ireland's the best side in the world. And I cannot wait for the excuses to come out when the Springboks absolutely obliterate the Irish when they come to South Africa, especially the Loftus Test. It was sold out under an hour. Oh, now I can't even speak properly. So that's how passionate this crowd is about watching that game. So, I cannot wait. Let me know what you guys think. Is Ireland actually going to put up a fight against the Springboks, or is it going to be a more than 10-point victory either way? But we'll talk more about it closer to the time, when the teams are selected, when South Africa actually has a captain, when the Irish have announced their squad coming down. All those things will obviously be vital to know. But either way, I think a little bit of a weakened Springbok side will beat the best Irish side in South Africa. Yes, I said that. There's no chance that Ireland's coming close. They're going to be falling off the bus, and people are going to forget about Ireland very quickly. This is not going to be the New Zealand series where you go and beat the All Blacks. This is going to be completely different. But that's my little rant on why I think the Springboks are the best side in the world and why Ireland's not. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Okay, bye.